Honestly, this isn't even about whether you're pro-choice or pro-life. I just do not like bad arguments. And the arguments that are coming from the left right now are absolutely bonkers.
Do any of you men have any eggs or the possibility of carrying a fetus? How dare you talk about what a fetus wants? You have no idea.
Thanks, Whoopi, for proving that even idiots are capable of understanding basic biology.
Candace Owens just did what no one saw coming. You won't believe how this went down, folks, because things just got intense. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her sharp opinions on The View, is used to throwing verbal punches. But this time, she found herself up against Candace Owens. And let's just say, she wasn't ready for what was coming. What started as a debate on abortion rights and race quickly turned into a brutal reality check. And by the time it was over, Whoopi was left speechless, struggling to keep her composure. So what did Candace say that completely shattered Whoopi's argument? Stay tuned because this one is explosive. The tension was already thick when the conversation turned to abortion rights. Whoopi, a fierce advocate for women's reproductive freedom, passionately argued that men should have no say in the matter.
Do any of you men have any eggs or the possibility of carrying a fetus? How dare you talk about what a fetus wants?
Her point? That men who will never experience pregnancy should stay out of women's decisions.
My problem comes when you tell me what I need to do with my doctor and my family. How dare you? How dare you?
The audience erupted in applause. Whoopi leaned back, arms folded, a small, satisfied smirk creeping onto her face. She knew she had made a powerful point. To her, it was simple. If you weren't biologically capable of pregnancy, you had no business making decisions about it. But Candace Owens? She wasn't impressed. She adjusted her mic, glanced at Whoopi, and calmly responded,
Did you guys know back at home, by the way, that in 2017, Whoopi Goldberg received a GLAAD Media Award for executively producing a show called Strut? It was a transgendered modeling show. She won the award for speaking up for trans rights and against those trying to roll them back. Oopsies! This is why I love intersectionality.
The room fell silent. Whoopi opened her mouth to respond, but Candace wasn't finished. She continued.
Here we are in the middle of a vicious culture war where a bunch of men playing dress up and trying to convince people that they are women and can give birth and they can chest feed. And here comes along Whoopi Goldberg, and she's so fired up about abortion that she accidentally tells the truth. Only women can give birth. Only women have a womb that is capable of carrying a child. They say, never get in the way of our enemies when they are making a mistake. They also say, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I say, thanks, Whoopi, for proving that even idiots are capable of understanding basic biology.
Whoopi was taken aback. She wasn't expecting that level of pushback. If the conversation wasn't already intense, Candace Owens took it to another level, shifting the focus to what she saw as a glaring double standard in media narratives on race. She pointed out a recent op-ed that suggested the world would be better off without white men, a statement that had been largely ignored or even praised in progressive circles. But then, she posed a challenge that sent a wave of unease through the room. Candace made it clear that if the same article had targeted black men instead, the backlash would have been immediate and overwhelming. There would be protests, widespread condemnation, and an all-out demand for accountability. So why was this different? The moment those words sank in, the atmosphere in the studio shifted. The audience, who had been reacting to every exchange, fell into a restless silence. Even some of Whoopi's co-hosts, who had previously nodded along in agreement with her, now looked noticeably uncomfortable. Whoopi, however, was not about to concede. She pushed back, insisting that the two situations weren't comparable. But the explanation felt weak. It was the kind of argument that required mental gymnastics, an attempt to justify something that, at its core, contradicted the very principles of equality she claimed to stand for. And that's exactly what Candace exposed. By pointing out the inconsistency, she forced the conversation into a place Whoopi and many others weren't prepared to go. A place where bias and selective outrage had to be confronted head-on. As the debate unfolded, Whoopi's frustration became palpable. She adjusted her glasses, crossed her arms, and shook her head. It was clear she was uncomfortable, not just with Candace's words, but with the undeniable truth behind them. For the first time in a long time, she didn't have a response. As the conversation escalated, Whoopi tried to shift the focus, bringing up historical racism to make her point. She referenced Ruby Bridges, one of the first black children to integrate an all-white school, arguing that racism was deeply ingrained in America's past and still required urgent attention. The audience responded with nods and murmurs of agreement. It was a moment meant to reframe the discussion and put Candace on the defensive. If Candace downplayed the impact of history, it would be seen as dismissive. If she acknowledged it but failed to counter effectively, Whoopi could regain control of the debate. But Candace didn't take the bait. Instead of denying history, she leaned into it, recognizing Ruby Bridges' bravery while steering the conversation back to the present-day narrative. She pointed out an uncomfortable reality. While racism had undeniably existed, the media today seemed more focused on creating new villains rather than achieving true equality. The room shifted once again. The energy, once in Whoopi's favor, now felt uncertain. The idea that modern social justice movements were engaging in the same type of group-based blame they once condemned was not an easy pill to swallow. For Whoopi, the realization was evident. Her usual confidence wavered, her posture slightly slouched as she processed the weight of the argument. She attempted to interject but found herself without a clear rebuttal. It was an unexpected turn. The debate had started with Whoopi commanding the room, but by the end, Candace had flipped the entire conversation upside down, not by shouting over her opponent, but by exposing an inconsistency that could no longer be ignored. The debate didn't just end on The View, it ignited a firestorm online. Within hours, social media erupted, with clips of Candace Owens' takedown dominating Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Supporters of Candace flooded the internet, applauding her boldness. Some claimed she had exposed the hypocrisy of mainstream media and wasn't afraid to challenge the narrative. One tweet summed it up perfectly. Candace just did what no one else dares to do. Challenge Whoopi on live TV, and she had no comeback. Ouch! Others chimed in, praising Candace for standing firm against the emotional rhetoric often used to shut down opposing views. But Whoopi's supporters? They weren't having it. Outraged viewers rushed to her defense, arguing that Candace had deliberately turned the discussion into a spectacle. One furious Twitter user fired back, "Candace is just playing to her audience. Whoopi was trying to have a real discussion, but Candace turned it into a circus." Debates raged across social media, with heated discussions breaking out in the comment sections of viral videos. News outlets, political analysts, and influencers weighed in, further amplifying the controversy. But no matter which side people took, one thing was undeniable: Candace Owens had dominated the conversation. And Whoopi? She had no choice but to sit back and watch as the internet dissected every second of the exchange. Joy Behar, a longtime co-host and ally, attempted to soothe the situation, following Whoopi off set and trying to downplay the exchange. But the frustration wasn't so easily dismissed. Sources suggest Whoopi felt caught off guard, possibly realizing too late that she hadn't prepared for the level of pushback Candace delivered. The tension only grew once Whoopi retreated to her dressing room, where she reportedly spent time pacing, deep in thought. Whether this was a moment of self-reflection or simply damage control remains unclear, but one thing was certain: Candace Owens had rattled her in a way few had before. As the internet buzzed with reactions, Candace Owens wasn't about to let the conversation fade into the background. Rather than letting the moment pass, she strategically reignited the debate, ensuring her message continued spreading. Later that evening, she took to her own platform, doubling down on her position. She shared a clip from the debate, reinforcing her belief that logic had won over emotion, a sentiment that quickly divided the internet. Her supporters saw this as a defining moment, applauding her ability to challenge mainstream narratives. Many framed her argument as a rare instance of someone standing firm in the face of opposition, praising her for refusing to back down. However, her critics saw things differently. To them, the exchange wasn't a debate, it was a deliberate confrontation, designed to provoke rather than engage in meaningful discussion. They argued that her approach was more about dominance than dialogue, dismissing the idea that she had truly won the discussion. The online battle lines were drawn, with both sides fiercely debating who had truly come out on top. But one thing was undeniable: this wasn't just another television moment. It was a cultural flashpoint, one that would continue to fuel discussions about race, media bias, and ideological clashes long after the segment aired. And as for Whoopi, whether she saw this as a learning moment or an ambush, One thing was certain, this wouldn't be the last time these two would clash. And just like that, the tables had turned. Whoopi Goldberg, usually the one doing the grilling, had just been served a brutal reality check, and by the looks of it, she did not like the taste. But what do you think? Did Candace Owens go too far, or was she simply speaking the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments like this one. See you next time.